Good morning, children. Here I am again continuing with the chapter Structure of Atom. Now we will just summarize, or rather you can summarize what things we have studied in the last class. We studied about Dalton's atomic theory. Then we had a case to investigate whether atoms can be divided. Are there smaller particles than atoms? We are actually dealing with that case, isn't it? And when we got some clues by rubbing substances between them and finding out that the ball has been stick to the wall, and when we are combing on the dry hair and attracting the paper pieces, we found that there are presence of electric charges, isn't it? Then we studied about Michael Faraday and Humphrey Davy, who gave us some clues regarding the presence of electric charges. Then we studied about the discharge tube experiment done by J.J. Thomson, who gave us a great breakthrough about the study of atoms. And finally, we came to a conclusion that there are particles smaller than atom. We found out one charge, that is negative charge, that is an electron. This electron is actually having the mass very less than that of the hydrogen atom. Okay. Then, is there only negative charge? Is our case finished? No. We have to find out some more things, isn't it? Because in that textbook, we have read about the presence of positive charges also. Now, where is the positive charge? When are we going to find it authentically? Then we are going directly into the case. Now, here comes the main person who was behind this presence of positive charge. His name is Ernest Rutherford. Okay? So this name you should never forget. He is the person who came up with his famous experiment, that is the gold foil experiment. Now, this gold, you know, is a noble metal. It is very malleable and ductile. It can be beaten into thin sheets, isn't it? It can be made into thin wires. And what about foil? You have heard about aluminium foil, isn't it? It's very thin actually. So, what is this experiment about? And what did he find from that?
The plum pudding model of an atom was one of the most widely accepted models all over the world for understanding the structure of the atom. However, several experiments performed by scientists to study the atomic structure showed astonishingly different results. They were contradicting the plum pudding model. This led many scientists all over the globe to reconsider the structure of an atom and study it again. Around the year 1911, a British physicist, Ernest Rutherford, carried out the famous gold foil experiment. He did this to understand the structure of an atom. The experiment was carried out by Rutherford along with Hans Geiger and Ernest Marsden. The experiment he performed was a breakthrough in the field of chemistry, which helped him understand the structure of an atom in a more accurate manner. This is how the setup of his experiment looked like. As we can see here, he used a source of alpha particles locked in a lead container with a very small slit. This ensured that the alpha particles only came out through a small opening and travelled in a straight line. But why did he select alpha particles in the first place? Well, the alpha particles were having high energy and were heavier as well. So if we say the atom is like a pudding of positively charged particles with electrons embedded in it, then the particles will pass straight through it. This is obvious because the heavier particles will pierce through the lighter pudding structure of the atom and pass through it. This is what Rutherford thought. For this reason, their greater mass and energy compared to the protons made him choose alpha particles for the experiment. Next, he used a very thin gold foil on which the alpha particles would bombard. Why did he choose a gold foil? Well, a really thin gold foil was estimated to contain approximately 1000 atoms. Lesser the atoms, more convenient the experiment would be. Lastly, are we able to locate this circular band with a gap here? What could this be? Well, this is the screen. A fluorescent screen that would help us detect the radiation. That means the screen will glow or emit fluorescent light whenever alpha particles will hit it. So this is how the track of alpha particles can be traced. Now we're all set to understand how the experiment worked. The alpha particles were emitted from the element present in this box. These directly hit the gold foil. Now what should happen ideally? As we know, the Thomson's model suggested that an atom is a sphere of positive charge with negative electrons embedded inside it. That means it is expected that the alpha particles will pass right through the atoms and hit the detector straight. And why so? Because the mass of alpha particles is heavier than the mass of positive charges. That means they should directly hit the atom and move ahead through it. Only a very small deviation would probably be acceptable in this case. But is this what he observed? Not really. He was astonished to get unexpected results. What results did he get? He found that most of the fast-moving alpha particles passed straight through the foil and hit the detector. However, some particles got deflected by small angles. And lastly, to his astonishment, few alpha particles also rebounded. Now, how can this be possible? These three observations made Rutherford think that the plum pudding model is not really correct. Based on the conclusions he had, he put forward the new hypothesis explaining the structure of atoms. What were his conclusions? Let us have a look at the conclusions by Rutherford, followed by the new atomic model put forth by him in the next video. Few alpha particles also rebounded. Now, how can this be possible? These three observations made Rutherford think that the plum pudding model is not really correct. Let us take a simplified example to understand the inferences first. Let us imagine that we have a ball made up of cotton. The cotton in the ball is very sparsely distributed and has an extremely tiny circle or sphere located at the center. This sphere is quite hard and dense. So hard that it can even resist a bullet shot against it. Now what will happen if you shoot many bullets across this cotton ball? Most of them will travel straight through the cotton surface. What will happen if a bullet hits the edge of the central heavy mass? In this case, the bullet will slightly change their path and get deviated. So looking at the size of the central mass, it's obvious that only some of the bullets will get deviated. Lastly, what happens when a bullet hits the center directly? Needless to say, it will bounce back, because we know that the central dense mass is too hard for the bullet to pass through. So very few bullets will bounce back. This is analogous to what Rutherford had inferred about the atomic structure. His first conclusion was that most of the space inside an atom is empty. This is because most of the alpha particles could easily pass through the atoms and hit the detector straight. Now, if most of the space is empty inside an atom, then where is the positive charge located? Well, that's the second conclusion. The positive charge is compactly packed in a tiny entity. This occupies an extremely small space inside the atom. Now, why did he think so? Let's go back to our cotton ball and bullet example. Can you recall the second and the third case? Yes, the bullets get deviated on hitting the tiny sphere of the edge, and they will rebound when they hit the center. Same explanation holds true for this. A few alpha particles get deviated. That means there is a possibility that these hit the edge of the positive center. Yes, and one more possibility is that they get deviated because the positive center repels the alpha particles as they're also positively charged. Also, a very small number of alpha particles rebounded. That means there is a possibility that these alpha particles had directly hit the positive center. But since the number of these rebounding particles is too small, it explains that the volume occupied by the positive center is also very small. If the space occupied would have been big enough, then the number of alpha particles bouncing back would also be greater. So let's say there are gold particles in the foil. He found that most of the rays pass straight through the atoms. A few rays change their path and get deflected. Lastly, very few particles bounce back. These results compelled Rutherford to come up with a new nuclear model. Let's have a look at the hypothesis put forward by him. Firstly, there's a positively charged center in an atom called nucleus. Nearly all the mass of an atom resides in the nucleus. Secondly, the electrons revolve around the nucleus in circular paths. Thirdly, the size of the nucleus is very small compared to the size of an atom. However, theoretically, there were many flaws in the hypothesis. Let's have a look at the drawbacks in Rutherford's hypothesis in the next video. Also, we will have a look at the explanation of atomic structure by another scientist named Niels Bohr in the next video.
Active source. Okay. Inside a box there was a radioactive source. And from that radioactive source, alpha particles are allowed to come. What are these alpha particles? Do you know about helium? Have you heard about helium? Yes. Now, alpha particles are those which are having the mass equal to that of helium. Just understand that for now. Okay. Alpha particles are those which are having the mass equal to that of helium. It's enough for now. Now, in this experiment, what he did was he allowed these alpha particles to pass through a gold foil. You know, gold foil is very thin. Okay, it was made into a very thin foil and the alpha particles were allowed to pass through this gold foil. Now, as you know, these alpha particles, we are not able to see with our naked eyes what is happening. So, what he arranged was that there was a circular photographic screen. Okay. And when he watched the experiment very carefully, he understood that most of the atoms of the alpha particles pass through that gold foil very easily. Okay. But some of the particles, as you saw in the video, some of the particles, when they are coming to the center part of that gold foil, some of the particles, they just deflected back. Okay, he repeated that experiment again and again. And then he came to different conclusions. The first one was that, as you saw in the video, most of the atoms were passing very calm and quiet through the gold foil. So from that, he understood that most of the space inside the atom is empty. That is why the particles were easily passing through the gold foil. If something was there, it would have it would act like a barrier for that alpha particles, isn't it? So from that observation, he concluded that most of the space inside the atom is empty. Then why some of them deflected? So as you know, the alpha particles are positively charged particles. So if same charges are coming together, what will happen? You know, like charges repel and unlike charges attract, isn't it? That you have studied. So since the alpha particles are positively charged particles, they were just coming towards the gold foil, and when they were about to enter into that gold foil, they started deflecting back. So he understood that inside that atom there is some positive charge. That is why when these positively charged alpha particles were coming towards them, it got deflected because like charges repel. Okay. Then he also studied the presence of this positive charge. But he didn't stop there. he did this experiment again and again. And finally, in 1920, he finished his experiment. He came out with his conclusions that the center of the atom is called the nucleus. Okay? The center of the atom is called the nucleus. The entire mass, the complete mass of the atom is concentrated inside the nucleus. Okay. Now, I will ask you a question. Where is the whole mass of our body concentrated? Okay. Where is the whole mass of our body concentrated? Check it out. Okay. And tell me. Now, we are not going behind that. We will come with Ernest Rutherford. Okay. The center of the atom is called the nucleus. It is positively charged. Okay. It is positively charged. He also found out that there are positive charge inside the atom, and he named that positive charge as protons. The proton had a mass which is equal to that of the hydrogen atom. The mass of proton is equal to that of hydrogen atom. It had charge equal to that of electron, but opposite charge. Okay, same charge for both of them, but opposite charge. One is negative and other is positive. And you know, these scientists, they have a a sixth sense, as you can say, to predict something that can happen, isn't it? As our Dmitri Mendeleev, the father of the old periodic table, actually, he predicted that presence of gallium, isn't it? There will be an element which would melt in the palm of our hands. And after long years, they discovered gallium, which could melt in the palm of our hands. In the same way, our Ernest Rutherford also did a prediction. He said that not only protons and electrons, there are some chargeless particles also inside the atom. But he couldn't find out what. But he predicted that you will find some chargeless particles inside this atom. After long years, his prediction came true. Okay, this was the prediction. The prediction came true. In 1932, James Chadwick, he conducted experiments under the guidance of Ernest Rutherford. And he proved scientifically that inside the nucleus of an atom, there are particles which are having no charge, chargeless particles. And he named that chargeless particles as neutron because they are neutral, no charge. They are having the mass equal to that of proton. It is having the mass equal to that of proton. As you all know, the total mass of an atom, the entire mass of an atom is concentrated where? In the nucleus. The entire mass of the atom or the total mass of the atom is concentrated in the nucleus. Because the particles, protons and neutrons that possess mass are in the nucleus. Okay, so he also found that inside the nucleus, you can see the protons and neutrons together. Okay, as you can see in this table, our case is solved. We have come up with the findings. Atom can be divided. There are particles which are smaller than atom. They are electrons, protons and neutrons. Electron is a particle which is having negative charge. Its mass is less than that of the hydrogen atom. That is 1 by 1837 of the mass of hydrogen atom. Very less. Electrons are seen outside the nucleus. It was discovered by J.J. Thomson. by discharge tube experiment. Next, when we are coming to proton, positive charge, mass equal to that of hydrogen atom, charge equal to that of electron but opposite charge. Seen inside the nucleus. The mass is concentrated inside the nucleus. Discovered by Ernest Rutherford through his famous gold foil experiment. Last is the neutron. It is a chargeless particle. Mass equal to that of hydrogen atom. Seen inside the nucleus. Discovered by James Chadwick. So our case is closed. We found out positively charged particles, negatively charged particles, chargeless particles, everything. Now somebody told me that, do you know, atom is electrically neutral. What? Now I found out that atom is having positive charge and negative charge, and now you are saying atom is electrically neutral? How? There comes the answer. Inside the nucleus or inside the atom, there are equal number of protons and equal number of electrons. Okay, so if you are having 5 protons, there are 5 electrons also. So in maths you have studied +5 and -5 becomes 0. So it is neutral. That's why we can say that atom is electrically neutral. Okay. Why atom is electrically neutral? Because the number of positive charges and the number of negative charges are equal. That is, inside the atom, you can find equal number of protons and equal number of electrons, thus making the atom electrically neutral. Okay, so that's all for today. Have a nice day.